Welcome YouTubers. I'm going to do a walk around video of a new 2015-2016, that's winter 2015, winter 2016, Ariens Platinum 24 SHO, Ariens model 921038. Forgive me for the noise in the background. It's that time of year. I have a neighbor blowing some leaves. But let's get started. Okay, we'll start over at the dash. We have the quick turn chute on this model. One of the models that differentiates the Platinum from the Deluxe is the quick turn chute along with the heated hand grips. Now on the quick turn chute, you have about 200 degrees of mobility. Pretty simple to use. They made it pretty upright this year. Just move it to the right, move it to the left, and it goes, pretty far over to the left, which is nice. You also have the remote chute deflector on this one. Move it up, goes down if you want, if you want the snow in a very tight area close to you. Move it back if you want to throw it really far. So that's pretty straightforward. You also have 6 forward speeds on this, 2 in reverse, 1 slow, 1 a little faster in reverse. We have a rocker switch again for the heated hand grips over here, and we have a halogen headlamp on these, which is nice and bright. I know a lot of manufacturers have moved over to LEDs. From what I understand, Ariens has kept the halogen because one of the properties of the halogen headlight is it runs hot and it melts the snow off it. I guess if you had an LED, you just wipe it off with your glove. All right, let's just move along here. Here we have the construction of the machine. I'll go over with you guys a little bit. You can see that the construction is very solid. You have like brass finish bolts here, spacers to keep these bolts in really tight, which is nice. The cables are real heavy duty. You can see. Forgive all the post-its on the machine there. I just don't like to put serial numbers and dealer names on the web. Now we'll move to the engine. On this model, we have the 369cc engine. Puts out 17 foot-pounds of torque, which is a nice, powerful engine, especially for a machine with a 24-inch bucket. We have the rear oil drain, which is nice. Some machines have the oil drain on the right side, which is a little bit of a problem when you're trying to change the oil. You have to remove the tire. On this machine, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Moving along here on the engine, we'll go over the controls. You have a choke on the top here. Actually, yeah, this is the throttle. There's your fast position, slow position, choke on, choke off. Kind of reminds you of wax on, wax off. Alright, cheesy joke. Here we have the primer bulb on this engine. Press it 3 times. That's all you have to do. Here's your ignition switch. Move it to the right, it's on. We also have a fuel on and off switch right there, which is nice to have. If you're transporting the unit, you want to shut that off. If you want to drain the carburetor out for the winter, for the summer, after the winter, when you're done using it, putting it in storage, just shut that switch off, run the engine dry, and that'll, take all the gas out of the carb for storage, which is nice. Now the engine on this is also a nice low profile design. You can see it's pretty low, which makes it very easy to see over the machine. Something you want to consider. You buy these machines, sometimes you just order them off the internet, take them home without playing around with them a little bit. You may find a machine that's a little big for you. This machine is very easy to see over. It's a pretty small bucket, which I kind of like because there's always a couple of cars on the driveway. Lets you maneuver around them a little bit, which is nice. Sometimes if you have a big machine, it's a little harder to turn and get around obstacles. Now let's move over to the tires. On this machine, the tires are pretty aggressive. They're 16 by 4.8 inches in width, They're actually made by Kenda. You could see it's a very aggressive tread. You're not going to need chains on this. And we'll just look at the engine a little more. We have a nice big muffler on this, so it's, you know, relatively quiet as far as snowblowers go. Moving around to this side, we have an electric starter. You would just plug this into a regular outlet, push the button, and it'll start the engine. But, you know, my experience, these things are very good. At least when they're new, they start very easily. Usually just a one-pull start has been my experience with these LCT engines. But if you do have difficulty, maybe as the engine gets older, maybe it's not as well maintained, you may need a little help starting it, you have this, which is a nice feature to have. Just plug it in again, push the button, and it'll start that way as well. Okay, let's move on a little bit here. We have an all-metal chute, which is a nice feature. Again, that brass finish hardware is all good quality. Now here's the full metal chute. You have little spacers, rubber spacers between the hinge points, even at the bottom, which is nice, so you won't have snow leaking. It has a nice tight seal. Helps throw the snow far without snow leaking all over the place. Now we'll go up to the front, the working end of the snowblower, we'll say. You have the famous Ariens cast iron gear case right there. It's a very big, substantial case. You have two Zerk fittings on the auger shaft. I'll zoom in on those. You can see them right there. It's another nice feature to have. You could just, you know, once a year you may inject some grease in there with a grease gun. This way it'll keep the shafts, you know, the auger rakes over there, one on each side, from binding up. Sometimes if you don't do any maintenance on them, they're going to rust out. They'll be hard to move. I'm just going to focus in on the impeller. On this machine, it's a 14-inch impeller. This is called an SHO, which stands for super high output. The difference on this machine is the impeller is a high-speed impeller. All impellers are high speed on a snowblower, two-stage snowblower, but this is a higher speed impeller based on its design. So it performs about 10% better according to Ariens. Let's say Ariens rates the standard impeller and belts and pulleys at 45 feet throwing distance. This one's rated at 50 feet. So it gives you about a 10% boost in performance, all things being equal. It also comes with specialty belts and pulleys that are specific to the SHO model. You'll notice this brace there. It's like a double Y brace on the Gearcase on this model. It's a good feature to have because the shaft where the auger rakes sit is like a compact shaft. Goes a couple of inches, let's say, beyond the left and right side of that main Gearcase. So you want that extra support so it doesn't wobble under load. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work better than a different design. Some blowers, like the Ariens Professional model, just to give you some info, maybe more than you care to hear, but I want to say it anyway, give you a full auger shaft, which goes across, you know, from all the way to the left side panel on the housing, all the way to the right. So in that case, you wouldn't need the brace. But on a blower like this, where you have the compact shaft on each side, you do need the brace, because you need that extra support, because it's not going end to end. Another feature on the Ariens that you don't really see on other blowers, on many other blowers, some have it, some don't, but just a little indication of the quality. You see these bearing ends on both sides. There's 3 bolts on them, on the flanges. Most blowers you'll see just 2. So, you know, a lot of little things that when you add them all together, they make a pretty significant difference in, you know, longevity and overall quality of the machine. Not saying that if you don't have these features, the machine's not going to work well, but if you want something that's going to be really powerful, last a long time. Yeah, these are all little things that add up. And I'll just show you here. Those are the 3 bolts. I also have the poly skid shoes on this. They're about 1 1/8 inches wide. And they're plastic, which is good because sometimes the metal, standard steel skid shoes will scratch decorative surfaces. You won't have to worry about that with this. So those are the poly shoes, they call them. It's about a $35 option. And that concludes the walk-around video. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching.